What is your real-life experience with? It's hard to win an argument with a smart person, but it's damn near impossible to win an argument with a stupid person. My mom's entire argument tactic was to interrupt the other person as soon as they opened their mouth. It didn't matter if you were calm and reasonable and respectful. The moment sound came out of you, she would come in with greater volume. She usually didn't have much to say, so she would literally repeat herself just to interrupt you. Even if you paused and let her speak, if she was out of stuff to say, she would wait quietly until you tried to talk again, then interrupt you with something she already said. She wasn't even subtle about what she was doing. She was prideful about how great of a debater she was. She thought this childish and disrespectful crap actually made her strong and respectable. I don't think she ever realized that she didn't actually win any arguments, but simply wore the other person down until they gave up on a constructive adult conversation with her. I am dealing with a housemate who does exactly this, with a wickedly bad temper on top of it. Her boyfriend is an old friend of mine, and I wanted to help them out since they were living in her mom's house last year. I did not know her well at all, and I deeply regret thinking that I could reason with her. She wields her temper like it's a weapon, and anytime you try and express what you or someone else is feeling, she immediately argues and invalidates you. She has told her partner she is going to kill herself in order to win arguments. Oftentimes the things she is spouting as an argument are projections of her behavior or projections of her temper. She does not respect the boundaries of others, but demands that her boundaries be respected, and any conversation to find compromise and even ground is met with anger. Her lack of control over her words once she's triggered are some of the meanest, most vitriolic things I've ever heard from anyone. My partner, who was her friend and got her a job at her work, also had her own falling out with this person and now won't come over to my house due to fear of this person's behavior. I am exhausted. I probably have to deal with this for another 2 months. My mom kind of was like this. Whenever we got in a fight, which she was responsible for the reason, for most of middle and high school her response was, "Don't blame me for your problems with your father." This could be a response to anything, including asking if I wanted to go do something, and when I said no she would say, "Too bad you're going." My blow up at her had her using that response. How does my relationship with my dad, which was much better than with her, have anything to do with you asking if I wanted to do something when you already decided the answer has to be yes? Just tell me that I don't have a choice. One of my friend's friends was like this. I even asked her about it. In the context of WTF is Sarah's deal with interrupting and over-talking. My friend said she's just like that. So I asked Sarah and she denied she did it, in front of several people, all of whom immediately contradicted her. She insisted she didn't interrupt or overtalk, so we started recording each other conversations when she was around, and documented her behavior over a couple months. Another friend took the clips and edited it into a 6-7 minute video. A couple of us sat with her intervention style and made her watch it. By the end of it she was crying, and we just hugged her. The goal was not to humiliate, but demonstrate. But she was pretty wiped out nonetheless. It's a tough thing to see when you're in your early 30s. The outcome, well, she got better, just a little. One time she stopped and said, "OMG, I'm doing it right now, aren't I?" And another time I said, "You're doing that thing," and I'd like to finish my sentence. Sometimes she gets pissy about it, but we don't hang that often. And when she's not being a jerk she's really kind of cool, even likes to make sure everyone is taken care of. So I kind of suspect a narcissistic access disorder of some sort. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I know someone who legitimately stood up in the middle of a meeting about her child abuse in the child protection offices and yelled at everyone the child deserved to be stabbed because she knew not to play Operation So Loud. At that moment in reality, there wasn't anything the child protection officer, her boyfriend, brother and sister, or the grandparent or father could say to her. I don't think there are the words in existence appropriate for that situation. I could only say, couldn't help myself, what the actual fuck. Tried showing him a complete proof. It's always good to question rules and mathematical laws. At school these rules are given in a way that they come completely out of nowhere, so I would understand that he questions it or tries to come up with a counterexample. I tried the same when I heard that the two smaller sides of a triangle should add up to more than the larger side of the triangle, which should be logical. The shortest way from point A to B is in a straight line, and the larger side of a triangle is a straight line from a certain vertex A and B, while the two smaller sides can be seen as longer route from A to B, as to making an extra stop at point C. But I didn't realize that at the time, so I tried making triangles which didn't satisfy this condition, because no one showed me proof why it couldn't be done. From the context I see here, your friend isn't dumb, but is smart for not assuming things immediately and actually thinks about them first. Had a similar experience with a friend who believed he had broken the Pythagorean theorem, because if you make a stair step instead of a triangle with sides of length 1, 1, and then 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, the total is not 12 plus 12 equals 12. But 1 plus 1 equals 2. He would demonstrate the pattern with different base lengths and number of steps, etc., and then argue that at infinity his pattern held. No matter how much I explained to him, he had stumbled onto the base concepts of calculus, and that at infinity it becomes a straight line. Literally showed him the textbook. It was the best example of intelligence and stupid stubbornness I've ever seen. Got this email today at work. TLDR, client refused delivery of table due to finish not looking the same as her table in her other home. It's noted in item description that no two tables will be the same due to wood product that is used for production. Client is demanding we send out another table immediately to arrive by the end of the week that is a closer finish to the pictures online. Client will be leaving their summer home this weekend until next season and will need this table to arrive prior to her departure. My best friend married a partner at an investment firm. His arrogance and smugness have only intensified since I met him. He was a barely functioning hot college student my friend found abroad when I met him. She's scared to leave him because he will destroy her. It's difficult to even talk to him because he can't grasp simple concepts and thinks I'm stupid because I didn't go to an Ivy League school. He didn't either. But his excuse is that he's not from the US. I tried explaining to him once that as long as the R estimate for COVID was above 1, it was like 1.3 in our area at that time, then the number of cases would keep increasing. Exponential growth, which is something you'd think someone in investing should comprehend. He didn't understand, so I dumbed it down and said for every 10 people who have COVID, if they infect 11 people, then the infection rate would go up even though those first 10 people got better. I tried to explain 6th grade math and he was looking at me like I was the stupidest person he'd ever talked to. He tried to argue that for every one person who had COVID they would have to infect at least 10 people before the infection rate increased. He was flabbergasted that he had to explain such a simple concept, even though he was incredibly wrong. For background, I have an advanced degree in a statistical field. I have peer reviews publications of mathematical models I've developed. I'm known as one of the 2 Bayesian specialists at my university. He had a beginner's Bayesian book sitting on his table when I came to visit once. He saw me eyeing it and he grabbed it and said he was trying to learn about what his data people were doing. I said I had a pretty decent concept on the topic if he had any questions. He did this insulting laugh and in a super condescending tone said, "No offense, but this is way too hard for you, you wouldn't understand," and then walked out of the room with the book. Last week he overheard me talking to his wife about a project of mine. She has an advanced science degree. He told me I didn't know what I was doing and then tried to mansplain my project to me even though he didn't actually know what I was doing and he has the statistical capabilities of a kindergartner. I finally stopped him and told him that what he was saying was incorrect and that stats don't work that way. He told me I didn't know what I was talking about and that I'd never be able to find a real job anyway because I didn't go Ivy League school. Even though I work for a R1 university and have government contracts and not looking for a new job. I just turned my back to him and started talking to his wife again. The absolute arrogance of someone truly thinking they are the smartest person in the room. The shitty thing is that is how he got rich. He started his first job at an investment firm bringing in clients and worked his way up. He talks with such conviction that he sounds brilliant if you didn't actually know your shit. He's also very attractive. Has made it into a BuzzFeed article because of his appearance, which he'll never let go, and a smooth talker, which I think makes people want to believe him. But damn, he's so stupid it's painful. Dumb smart people too. My friend's mom is a highly regarded anesthesiologist, and at some point that convinced her she just knows everything about everything. Undoubtedly a gifted doctor, and very intelligent. But she managed to make herself sound painfully stupid and stubborn with some of the debates she decided to have. Example, she thought pedophile was pronounced pedophile and was willing to argue with Google about it. Example 2, she thought schools are linearly more expensive based on the school's reputation, argued that Harvard cost $200K/year. Neither of these would be bad mistakes, if she was willing to admit she was wrong when confronted with facts, but she knew she was right. I worked at a bank last year and the inside lobby was by appointment only, but our drive-thru was obviously open. Anyway, most people use the drive-thru for the basics like deposits, withdrawals, transfers, etc., and inside for more complicated things like opening accounts, SafeBox OFC, loans, etc. One day this man wanted to come inside and apt for a deposit. I told him the drive-thru is open, but he kept insisting and I'm like, we literally can't allow you inside ATM unless you make an appointment. We're only following gov and bank guidelines, and he said that's BS and used the classic "do you know how much money I have you guys like I'm a part-time college student about to graduate and look for a new job. Your money does absolutely shit for me all." I used to work with a guy who made well over $100,000, lived by himself, no obligations outside of rent on his place and half of his mom's elder care, split with his sister. Talking to him was like talking to a fucking wall. I eventually figured out how to let him think he was right and I was stupid, but could we just try it my way once pretty please, just so I can see why it doesn't work? And I don't know, maybe I just don't get it. But why don't we? And oh wait, so it's that explains my point in super clear terms that sound like it's in agreement with him but isn't. Pretty sure he told his replacement that I know what I'm doing honestly, but I just need my hand held because his replacement tended to over-explain to me at first. Now whenever someone asks him a question he looks to me to answer it and then just repeats whatever I said verbatim. Someone accused me of being two-faced for this. If pulling the bimbo act with a guy who needed to feel like the biggest brain in the room, while proving him wrong and making sure we met deadlines because he preferred to talk himself and everyone else in a circle rather than do any work, makes me two-faced, then call in the kid in the scaly panties because I'm taking over Gotham. I used to work at TD Waterhouse USA, which was the investment branch of the Toronto Dominion Bank for U.S. customers. A lot of entitled assholes, so many of them asked specifically where I was. The only reason people ask that question is because they want to yell at you for not being American, since a lot of call center work is outsourced. One guy went on and on about now Canada is stealing our goddamn jobs? ? I need to speak with your manager. My floor manager said he always just asked them if they knew what the T in TD Waterhouse stood for, before informing them that we were part of a Canadian bank corporation. Meta flat earther, I think we just going along with it to be contrarian. He said the whole thing was a conspiracy. Tried asking him where the edge was and he said it was a ring of ice. Tried explaining that for his conspiracy to work literally hundreds of thousands of people around the world in various space agencies would need to keep the secret, yet not one has come forward with the truth. Didn't work. Tried telling him we have literal photos and clips of the round earth spinning. He said it was a lie. Not matter how much logic the rest of us threw at him, he just refused to accept it. We all came away thinking less of him for being so stubborn. I gave up on debating conspiracies in a normal way. People are too primed to fight sensible arguments with idiocy, and it takes an hour to debunk an idiotic statement with an accurate one. So instead I just try to out-conspiracy them. Where is the edge to the world then? It's a sealed ring of ice around the world, like a disk. But how come the gravity generators don't crush it? It doesn't seem like a disk is stable enough shape to withstand enough force to be livable in space. Well, the government is lying to why? Wait, what? I mean, how would you even build a space station with gravity that rotates only around one axis? It will crumble otherwise. What space station? What are you talking about? What do you mean what space station? The one we are currently living on, dumb. Few things take the wind out of your argument than having to stop and teach them basic comprehension so you can get back to the point. What kills me the most though is when their entire argument against me is based on their misunderstanding, or misconstruing, of what I've said. Yes, I know it sounds stupid, but that's your interpretation. See, no, that's not ad hom. I mean just ... No, I'm not changing my tune, I'm correcting your dumb ass. Used to have a friend who would legit argue with you about your own experiences and tastes, opinions, and pretty much anything else. Some examples include insisting that neither my husband nor I could possibly remember September 11th because we were only 11 at the time, insisting that no one could possibly remember anything from before the age of 10, said I was lying that I can remember every teacher I ever had, and have memories from as young as 3 years old. Tried to start an argument that polio isn't contagious. If you liked some piece of art, clothing, home design or other purely opinion-based thing that was simply not her taste, you were wrong. When I expressed an interest in living abroad for some of my life, she tried to sit me down and lecture me that she knew better than me about whether or not I would enjoy it. Her conclusion was that I wouldn't. Refused to acknowledge that professional Adobe products are now only available by subscription, and insisted that I must be wrong in telling her so. Began explaining why pattern making for clothing would be too hard for me to learn. Moments after I explained to her what it was, she had never heard of it before and had no idea how clothes were made. Started an argument with me that my nephew is not adorable, and that no one really finds children cute, they just pretend to. Wouldn't hear of the possibility that someone could go to Iceland and enjoy themselves because her brother had a stopover at the airport there and was very bored. Got upset when our friend group didn't approve of her brother calling a black man a NR because he needed to make the guy really angry. There were so many more but I can't remember them all. Every interaction with her was an exercise in frustration. Her only tactics for debating or arguing were repeating the same stupid points over and over again after they'd been combated, making you feel like you're emotional or unreasonable when she said something incredibly hurtful and offensive, and talking over everyone while being very condescending and rude. Making you feel like you're emotional or unreasonable when she said something incredibly hurtful and offensive, and talking over everyone while being very condescending and rude. She must have gone to the same debate school as my brother. If I show the least bit of negative emotion about anything, he calls me out like it's immature or wrong. We were discussing why I no longer talk to our parents and he wanted to know why I was sounding heated and emotional while he demanded to know about every instance of abuse and neglect so he could deny it ever happened or that it was my fault. Then he'd tell me that he just wanted to help because he was a social worker and it was his job to help people communicate and get past their problems with each other. He's not a social worker. He doesn't have a degree. He's a caseworker who supervises visits for parents who have lost custody of their children and can't even be trusted to visit with them for half an hour without harming them. In school for my now job, at the beginning there was a woman sitting next to me. I was like 22 or 23. She was easily 40. Fine. At the beginning we got along well, then she started to desperately search for similarities. It got annoying. Then she always asked me about stuff the teachers said while the teachers still talked. Basically wanted a live translation from me but without changing the language. Of course resulting in both of us not being able to listen anymore. No way to explain to her she should just listen herself and at least try to understand. I would have happily tried to help her afterwards when I had time to hear it myself. First clue, she was not so bright. I was incredibly over her, but stayed nice. Then we were supposed to work in pairs on a small but not easy task. Of course, she didn't understand a word. I explained one thing, don't remember what, to her for the umpteenth time. Fine. Sometimes it's cursed. You just don't get one thing. But then she proceeded to tell me I was wrong. Fine as well, if she can't tell me why. But no, it was a matter of I have no clue what's up with that. I don't understand it in the slightest. But I just know you're wrong about it just because. Spoiler, I was not wrong. I reread it 10 times in our sources, found different sources, tried to break it down to basically elementary school levels. She stopped listening to me and just continued to argue I was wrong because I was wrong or something. Remember, that woman was more than 15 years older than me and around 40. I lost my patience, stopped talking to her and just presented the task by myself. She did not admit anything after the fact. Shortly after, she changed seats after a different incident, and not long after that she dropped out. Surprise, surprise.